In the dead of night, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur, there lies a tale so chilling it will seep into your very bones. This story is not just about a ghost, but about something far more sinister, a darkness that waits for the unsuspecting, where every shadow hides a secret and every whisper echoes to the cries of the damned. Hold tight, for what you are about to hear will make you question the very reality you live in. This is the story of the Vanishing Bridge. In the heart of a rural town in the Philippines, a legend has persisted for generations. It's a story the locals tell in hushed tones, one that warns travelers of a bridge that appears only on the darkest of nights. This bridge, known as the Chulay Ng Wala, or the Bridge of Nothingness, is said to lead to nowhere and everywhere all at once. Some say it's a gateway to the afterlife. Others believe it's a portal to a realm of endless torment. But those who have crossed it, if they're ever seen again, are forever changed. John Harrison, a young American journalist, had heard of the legend during one of his assignments in Manila. Intrigued, he decided to investigate. His editor was thrilled. It would make a fantastic story for their supernatural series, especially given the growing interest in horror tales from the East. So, armed with nothing but his camera, a recorder, and his skepticism, John set out for the town of San Gabriel. The locals were reluctant to talk about the bridge. The mere mention of it sent chills through the elderly and made the children uneasy. After days of trying, John finally met an old man named Mang Tomas, who agreed to share what he knew. The bridge appears when the moon hides, Mang Tomas said, his voice trembling. It's always the same. A thick fog rolls in, and suddenly there it is, a rickety, old wooden bridge that wasn't there before. But beware, young man, for it's not just a bridge. It's a trap. Despite the warnings, John was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. After all, he thought, every legend has some basis in reality. On the night of the new moon, John ventured to the location described by Mang Tomas. The air was thick with humidity, and a strange silence had fallen over the town. Even the crickets were quiet, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation. Just as Mang Tomas had described, a dense fog began to roll in, obscuring everything in its path. Then, as if out of nowhere, the bridge appeared. It was old and weathered, its wooden planks creaking under the weight of the fog. John's heart raced with both excitement and fear. He knew he had to cross it. As he stepped onto the bridge, the wood groaned ominously beneath him. The fog was so thick now that he couldn't see the other side. Every step he took echoed in the silence, growing louder and louder, as if the bridge was amplifying the sound. Halfway across, John began to feel dizzy, as if the bridge was swaying beneath him. But he pressed on, determined to reach the other side. Then he heard a whisper, so faint he thought he might have imagined it. But then it came again, clearer this time. Turn back. John froze. He looked around, but there was nothing but fog. The voice was soft, almost pleading, yet there was an underlying menace that sent a chill down his spine. He wanted to turn back, but something compelled him to keep going. As he took another step, the voice grew louder. Turn back now, but it was too late. The bridge suddenly lurched beneath him, and before John could react, the planks gave way. He fell, plunging into the abyss below. But instead of hitting water or ground, he kept falling deeper and deeper into a void of darkness. John awoke to a strange, ethereal light. He was no longer on the bridge, but in a place that defied explanation. The sky was an unnatural shade of red, and the air was filled with the sound of distant wailing. The ground beneath him was cold and barren, with jagged rocks jutting out like the bones of some ancient creature. He realized with growing horror that he was no longer in his world. As he began to explore his surroundings, John encountered other people who had crossed the bridge before him. Some were lost in their own madness, wandering aimlessly, while others cowered in fear, hiding from something unseen. They all shared the same haunted look, their eyes hollow and devoid of hope. One of them, a young woman named Maria, approached John. She was pale and gaunt, her clothes tattered and stained. "You shouldn't have come here," she whispered. "There's no way out." John refused to believe it. There had to be a way back. But as the days, or was it weeks, passed, his resolve began to wane. The realm was a place of endless torment, where time had no meaning, and every attempt to escape only led him back to the bridge. One night, as John sat by a flickering fire, Maria told him the truth about the bridge. It was a creation of the dead, a beacon that lured the living to their doom. Those who crossed it were trapped between worlds, forever lost in a place where the souls of the damned roamed freely. "There's only one way out," Maria said, her voice trembling. "You have to find the keeper of the bridge. He's the only one who can free you." Desperate for a way back to the world he knew, John set out to find the keeper. The journey was fraught with danger, as the souls of the damned tried to drag him into the darkness. But John was determined. He had come too far to give up now. After what felt like an eternity, John finally found the keeper. He was an ancient being, cloaked in shadow, his face hidden beneath a hood. His voice was like the grinding of stone, deep and foreboding. "You seek to leave this place?" the keeper asked. "Yes," John replied, his voice barely a whisper. "I want to go home." The keeper chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down John's spine. "There is a price to pay, mortal. Nothing in this world is given freely." John was willing to do anything, pay any price. But what the keeper demanded was more than he could have imagined. "You must bring me another soul," the keeper said. "Only then will I release you." John recoiled in horror. He couldn't do that. He couldn't condemn another person to this hellish existence. But the alternative was to remain here forever, a fate worse than death. John wrestled with his conscience, but as the days passed, the weight of his predicament became unbearable. In the end, his desperation won out. He returned to the others, his mind made up. He approached Maria, the only one who had shown him any kindness. She trusted him, and that trust was what he needed to betray. "I found a way out," John told her, his voice hollow with guilt, "but I need your help." Maria's eyes lit up with hope, and John's heart ached at what he was about to do. But he led her to the keeper, knowing full well the fate that awaited her. When they arrived, the keeper was waiting. Without a word, he reached out and took Maria's hand. She screamed as the darkness enveloped her, pulling her into the void. John turned away, unable to bear the sight. He had done what was necessary, but the cost was more than he could bear. "Your freedom is granted," the keeper said. "But remember this, mortal, you will never escape the guilt of what you have done." John awoke on the other side of the bridge. back in the world he thought he had lost forever. The fog was gone and the sky was clear, but something was different. He was different. The experience had changed him, left a mark on his soul that could never be erased. He returned to his life in America, but nothing was the same. The world felt hollow, devoid of meaning. The bridge haunted his dreams, and the memory of Maria's betrayal tormented him. In the end, John realized that the keeper had been right. He could never escape the guilt. It followed him everywhere, a shadow that clung to his very being. And so, John did the only thing he could think of. He returned to the Philippines, to the town of San Gabriel, and to the bridge. He knew that this time there would be no coming back. As he stepped onto the bridge once more, the fog rolled in, and the bridge began to creak beneath him. But this time there was no fear, no hesitation. John knew what awaited him on the other side, and he embraced it. As the fog swallowed him whole, the bridge disappeared, leaving nothing but the sound of distant wailing echoing in the silence of the night.